month ago, I would have had no idea how to play that. But over the last 4 weeks, I've been teaching myself jazz. Now I'm going to tell you a secret of mine. I love classical music. I know it doesn't exactly have the best reputation. Most people just remember playing before immediately quitting to either go learn guitar or stop playing music altogether. And I get it. When I first started, at the end of every lesson, it felt like my back was broken, my eyes had glazed over, and deep vein thrombosis had formed in my legs due to sheer boredom. Walking out of my teacher's apartment made me feel like I was at the end of the Shawshank Redemption. But over the years, the genre has started to grow on me, to the point where now, when I think of classical music, I don't think I think I've dabbled in different genres before, but I never gave it much effort. Anyone who's gotten to know me for at least 5 minutes knows that I'm a perfectionist. If I'm mediocre at something, I'm either going to tear my hair out working to improve or just quit altogether. There's no middle ground for me. And in the case of piano, I was good at classical, and my attempts at jazz sounded like a cat being shoved through a wood chipper. So I stayed in my lane, labeling myself as an exclusively classical pianist. But after 12 years, I felt like I was missing something. So over the last couple of months, I started trying out some new styles. It was mostly more of the same, sheet music, basic chords, blah, blah, blah. But there's a newfound freedom that really got my musical brain excited. I was allowed to experiment, to change up the rhythm, adding sauce to the left hand wherever I could. I was addicted. And that's when I remembered that there's an entire genre dedicated to making up your own melody. So I made it my New Year's resolution. Before my senior speech, I would learn how to play jazz. Not knowing where to start, I simply Googled how to play jazz. And then Google gave me literally 900 million answers to that question, so I started learning right away. Even for someone that has prior experience with music, I felt like I was reading hieroglyphics half the time. If anyone that's not in jazz ensemble can tell me what a G13 sus4 over C chord is, I'll give you $100 right now. But eventually, I started to decode this language, and today, I'll give you a taste of what I've been working on. The first thing I learned were chord shells, where all you do is take a basic chord like C, E, G, we break it up, move it around, add a little bit of rhythm, and now we have. Good so far? Now let's try it with some more unique chords. I love this trick since it works with any chord and it's so simple we can even use it with pop songs as well. Let's try it with, how about Havana? Now that you have that basic trick under your belt, let's try something a little bit more advanced. When you're trying to come up with an interesting chord progression or pattern, some people think that you need to master musical theory, the cycle of fifths, and every diminished chord in existence. But if you're like me and you don't want to deal with all of that, you can just experiment until you find something that sounds cool. For example, I want to go from a C chord to an F. We can make this sound a little bit more natural with the addition of an A chord. Sounds nice, right? Then if I want to add a little bit of a jazzy quality, I can throw a C7 chord into the mix. If I want it more complex, I can do this. A lot of that was chord improvisation. Alternatively, on the bluesy side of jazz, there's a consistent pattern on the left hand, while the right is going off on its own. which gives us the objectively greatest musical term in history, boogie woogie. So even if you aren't planning to make jazz your main musical outlet, it's still worth learning. Every skill is transferable to different styles of music, and even something incredibly simple can end up sounding beautiful. One of the first things I learned was how to form a major 7 chord, which is... And while that's important for jazz, it sounds even better when creating ambiance. Now, a few days ago, I was thinking to myself, why had it taken me so long to even attempt something like this? And then I remembered, I had labeled myself as a classical musician. I trapped myself within one genre, and according to my own arbitrary rules, I couldn't play jazz. We are limited by the labels we give ourselves, boxed in by the steely walls of our own self-doubt. In the past, I would quit anything with the smallest of hurdles. I told myself, I'm not a debater, I'm not an athlete, I'm not good enough to be with this person. Look, I know I'm not the best jazz pianist in the world. Shout out to all the players in the jazz ensemble, by the way. But I'm not content to stay in my lane. I want to explore everything there is to offer and not be afraid to make a complete ass of myself trying. Just as an example, jazz alone has millions of different styles, subgenres, instruments, and chord combinations, and I've only scratched the surface of what I can achieve in a lifetime. So to all my fellow perfectionists, and especially my seniors, don't limit yourself by your own self-perception. Hell, it's the last year. Go join a team, start working out, go talk to that person you like. Because remember, if you suck at something, eventually, you won't.